Yo, what is going on, guys? It is boy Nick here, back again with a brand new video today. So this is now the 4th episode of my new series, which I review every single MCU Disney Plus show up to the release of Secret Invasion. Today we're going to be reviewing What If Season 1. So right off the bat with What If, one of the things that I like about it the most is that this show has an awesome concept. If you guys don't know what the concept for What If is, basically it's a show to where they decide to make each episode like their own story pretty much that takes place in a different universe outside of the MCU. And it's pretty much done to be like... So imagine if the story went this way instead of this way. So what if this happened as opposed to the way that you know it in the MCU? What if this way actually went the other way instead of this? And so it's an actually like very interesting concept, and it's something that like on the surface might seem like, oh, it's just, you know, it might be some cool stories, but is it actually that good? In my opinion, I actually think What If is very good. I think it's a great show. I'm really excited for them to come back with a second season, I think next year or something. And I'm excited to see where the story goes. But yeah, the concept right off the bat is a great concept, and they actually make some pretty cool stuff out of it, so let's talk about it. The things I like about What If is the intricate amount of detail put into each universe. Like, it really, like, every episode is fascinating in my opinion. Like, there's some that are more fascinating than others, but every single episode, you're in this universe where it's like, it's completely different from every other universe, and it's unique in its own special way, and the intricate amount of detail when it comes to the characters and the writing and the world and, like, how things could go this way or that way really is really interesting. It really does show you that like every universe is its own world, and it's just like really cool to see them explore these different concepts of, oh, what if this happened instead of this, or what if this happened instead of that. And I think they actually execute it very well. You know, the stories are very well written, but they're also very investing and they're fun. So I like the fact that you don't really have to like pay a whole lot of attention whenever watching these episodes. You can actually kind of like sit back and watch it, and like it's a pretty fun show. And I like the fact that like the story, it's very well written and like everything makes sense, but it's also like it's investing. They actually make you want to see what happens next, actually make you want to see what goes on with certain characters. And I think that there's like, especially some that are like some of the most well written storylines in the entire MCU actually. It's a very well written show, and it's a lot of fun to watch too. The animation for the show is beautiful. I know that the animation is probably going to be one of the most like divisive things about the show, or one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Skeptical. I think it's going to be one of the most skeptical aspects about the show. Because I know there's some people who are like, oh, you know, they love Marvel, but they're not really so much into animation. They look at it and go, oh, you know, it's animation. It's like probably targeted towards kids. And like, What If is kid friendly, but it is actually kind of gritty to a certain degree, and actually has some dark storylines in it that like I kind of feel they wouldn't be able to do with live action. So I actually like the animation for the show. And it did take me a little while to get used to the way everything looked. Once I got used to it, I just fell in love with the animation style. I think it's a beautiful looking show. I love the colors. I love the actual like texture of the things. I like the fact that they look like comic book panels almost, just very touched up and very, I don't know, vibrant, I guess. Like it's a very visually appealing looking show, and I think that the animators did an incredible job with it. It looks great to me. The voice acting is also spectacular. So one of the things I appreciate is that they had most of the live action actors from the original movies come back to voice their characters. There's some who didn't come back, and that's, you know, understandable considering some of them might have had schedule conflicts or something. But I do like the fact that they had most of the original actors come back to voice their characters as like an honor to that character, and it's nice to see them all come back together. There's two that I want to talk about real quick. I really like Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher. I think the Watcher is very interesting as he's like our guide through this universe. I think Jeffrey Wright does the voice acting very, very well for the Watcher. He's got an interesting kind of like narrative voice where he narrates his things, but he's also just like, he's an interesting character in regards to what they do with him. And something else special about the voice acting is that this was Chadwick Boseman's final performance as T'Challa, and it's kind of sad watching this back, knowing how this was the last time he did the character. His last live action performance was in Endgame, but his last performance period was the voice acting for What If. And it does make me sad that we're not going to see Chadwick again as the character, but I was glad that he was able to do the voice acting for the show while he was still alive. It really does feel special in the long run. Another thing the show does very well is that even though every episode is its own separate universe, in the last few episodes, especially the last two, they do a really good job at bringing all the universes together. Or not all the universes, but like specific characters, specific universes together to make one single narrative. That's the one thing about the show that really surprises, that every episode is its own narrative, but near the end, they actually tie stuff together to make a singular narrative, and they actually do a really good job at doing that. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't want to spoil the show, but I really like the way in which they went about it. And guys, some of the last stuff I want to talk about, I was going to talk about some of my favorite episodes. I'm not going to go into spoilers for any of these, but just standout episodes to me that I really liked was I really liked episode 4, which is the one about Doctor Strange. It's just an interesting concept, but the thing is that it's actually like very gritty and heartfelt and actually like kind of dark. That like it went in directions I wasn't expecting it to go in, but that's actually why I really loved that episode. I think it's a really heartfelt episode, but they brought out emotions like I didn't think they were going to bring out. I feel like they wouldn't have been able to do that in live action. I feel like the animation was what helped make it work. I also think that episode 5 is a great episode. That's one that like I feel like some people may not take so seriously, and I get it because it's more of a fan service episode, but it's like when I look at it from like a fan perspective, I'm like, this is freaking awesome. As someone who loves these characters, I love seeing that. Yeah, from a actual just like, well, let's make a story thing, it might seem a little bit ridiculous, but I don't know, I think it's a very fun episode, and I like the last 2 episodes, episode 8 and 9. I like episode 8 because I feel like it does a good job at bringing characters together for the narrative, and I feel like the last episode was a satisfying payoff for the show. Now, although I do really enjoy What If, I do have a couple flaws with it, and it's nothing really all too serious. The first one is that I put down is that it takes a few episodes to get into, in my opinion. So when I first watched the show, the first 2 episodes, I was enjoying it, but I wasn't really super invested yet. It wasn't until episode 4 and 5 I started to get more invested into it. And that's kind of the thing, is that upon first viewing, at least for me, this is the kind of show that like I feel like it takes a couple episodes to get into. Once you do get into it, it's very intriguing, and upon rewatching it, I think it's actually a lot more fun the second time through than the first time through, because it's kind of like that, now that you know what's going to happen, you kind of like look for little things here and there to see how it's going to play out. And I think that, you know, it might take a few episodes to get into in the first run, but on the second one, it's a lot more fun. I also wrote down another flaw, is that some stories are more interesting than others. There's no bad stories in this show, and there's no bad episodes. I enjoy everything I saw, but there's just some storylines I like more than others, and that's just how it happens, you know. Sometimes that's just how it's going to play out. You're going to like some more than others, but that's life. What can you do? Overall, What If Season 1 is a very good show. I highly recommend checking it out. And some of the people who might have been skeptical of it, I recommend checking it out. It's got some great storylines, some great character moments. It looks great. It also has some great overarching just story within the entire universe of the MCU. I really like What If, and I can't wait for Season 2 to come out. I'm going to give it an overall rating of an 8.7 out of 10. Very entertaining, minus the fact that some episodes are more interesting than others, and minus the fact that it takes a couple of days to get into. Entertaining show, and I'm going to give it an overall grade of an A-. So that was my review of What If. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the channel as always. Next week I'm going to have a review for Hawkeye. I'm excited to talk about that. And I'll also have a review for Venom coming out next week, because I'm doing my series which I review every single Sony Spider-Man Universe film up to the release of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So go check out some of those reviews if you haven't already. Be on the lookout for all that. And also go click the link in the description and go follow me on Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok so you guys can see me on multiple platforms. Thank you guys so much as always for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified about those videos. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. And yeah, that's been it. Peace.